Hello Skillr Boxers. Today, we're going to give you the tools to beat every Orthodox worst nightmare, Southpaws. To be more precise, this video is about how fighting a mirrored stance works, so these tricks can be useful for both Southpaws and Orthodox. By the end of the video, you will have a deeper understanding of mirrored stance fights, and will know exactly what to do the next time you face the opposite stance. Of course, this video will also be extremely useful for Southpaws, not only because you'll learn the tactics opponents can use against you, but also because the principles are practically the same. After all, when we face a mirrored stance, everything your opponent does, you can also apply. For those who are not familiar with the terminology, when we say mirrored stance, we mean both boxers are in opposite stances.
Oh boy!
In this position, your lead hand aligns with your opponent's lead hand, and your rear hands are aligned as well. This mirrored stance occurs when an Orthodox and a Southpaw face each other. Although, there's a slight difference between boxing a Southpaw as an Orthodox and boxing an Orthodox as a Southpaw. Write on the comments if you already know what that difference is. But now, let's start from the base. Lead foot battles. In a mirrored stance, your front foot faces your opponent's front foot. This presents two options: positioning your foot on the outside position, or on the inside position. There is also a third option, which would be to step on the opponent's foot. But for the sake of the explanation, we'll just cover inside and outside positions. If you haven't fought many Southpaws, this detail might seem minor, but your front foot position completely changes the exchanges and punching mechanics. It determines which tactics are most effective depending on your stance.
Right there, you gotta be able to control. Oh, nice left!
Before exploring the next topic, here's a quick message from our sponsor, Pro Boxing Training, a powerful training platform built for fighters and pragmatic trainers. For fighters, the app helps you learn, drill, and progress with structure. For trainers, it provides a framework that facilitates linear development with clientele. Comprehensive programming and careful tracking are two of the keys required for long-term success. If you teach group heavy bag classes, you'll have a seemingly endless supply of championship-level combinations as new fighter modules are added every Monday. Keep your classes fresh, teach high-percentage attack sequences, defensive patterns, and footwork techniques utilized by popular fighters. Become a more versatile trainer today. Download Pro Boxing Training and help your clients master the sweet science. Let's analyze each one. Outside foot position. Placing your foot on the outside is advantageous for several reasons. First, your rear hand is perfectly aligned with your opponent's center line, making your attack far more effective.
Jessica McCaskill, Chris Maddox, attack! Oh, big straight right. Oh!
Second, by positioning your foot outside, you move away from your opponent's rear hand, making it much harder for them to land their power shots.
You want to keep outside to your left, outside the lead right foot. Keep away from their backhand, the left hand. That's their power hand. Move away from it.
As you already know, the name of the game is hit and don't get hit. So achieving a position where you can punch while your opponent can't is a giant advantage.
And he has not done that so far. He's looking for a big shot.
But be careful when stepping for that outside position, because as we will see, it can be a vulnerable spot where opponents can time you. So move across safely, either by setting it up with a jab or a feint. Inside foot position. This position is often underrated. Yes, the outside position is advantageous, but that doesn't mean you can't fight effectively from the inside. In fact, the inside position has its own advantages.
Foundation to his footwork. Oh!
For example, it's easier to perform certain slips, and your lead hand is closer for jabbing. However, as we'll see in practice, there are more factors involved that make jabbing from the inside difficult.
That's one of the problems. You fight southpaws and you see the Orthodox fighter doesn't use the jab. This way you get a better angle. Bang, bang. You can use that jab. Where over here, it's awkward. You don't feel like you can use it.
It's important to learn to box from this position, because your opponents will also fight for an outside position and will inevitably succeed at times. Especially southpaws, who have this movement ingrained in their style. As we'll see later on, you can use this to draw opponents into great counters from the inside too. Many great southpaws, Pacquiao, Rigondeaux, Whitaker, are also skilled at fighting from the inside. You just need small adjustments to be effective.
Took and had enough points to win that fight. Nice straight left hand.
For example, when throwing the rear hand, use a more pronounced hip rotation and aim in a diagonal trajectory rather than straight.
Clash of heads. We've had lots of occurred.
He needs to be throwing way more punches than he's throwing. Oh, he got caught with a great punch right there.
Since the line isn't perfectly aligned, you'll need to adjust the shot.
Both guys showing a ton of respect.
Also, because you're aiming on a slightly different line, your body naturally shifts to align your feet with your opponent's head, pushing your stance toward your rear hand side. This natural balance puts you on the line of fire, which is why you must be defensively responsible when crossing it. You'll often see fighters like Floyd duck after throwing the right cross from the inside for this exact reason.
Well, he's certainly frustrated, but he's not giving up. As in some recent fights. Again, tag squirrel. Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, and Larry Holmes.
If you stay in this position without being defensively responsible, or carelessly step into it without protecting yourself properly, you are in for trouble.
To him, and if Janibek poses,
Janibek with the left uppercut.
Ideally, you should be skilled in both positions and not always fight from the same one. No matter how advantageous a position may seem, if you always move in the same direction, you become predictable. Your opponent can read and exploit those patterns.
It ain't just go this way. I do what I want to do. Yeah. You gotta stop me. So it's times I'm gonna go here, like you're supposed to. And other times I'm gonna walk you. Yeah. I see the left hand. Yeah. Go ahead and throw it. I'm here. You don't tell me to go one way. Yeah. I go both ways. Yeah. But I'm ready every time.
The lead hand. Let's start by looking mainly at the position of the lead hand. In mirrored stances, the front hand becomes crucial for measuring, feinting, framing, pinning, and creating traffic. These techniques help you safely reach the outside position while disabling your opponent's most important weapon, their jab. Lead hand traffic is so common in these fights that both boxers often spend long moments bumping hands. We call these lead hand battles. The goal is to manipulate your opponent's hand to create an opening for your jab.
And that's got to be something he's got to be careful with, maybe getting cut, because
it's nothing venture, nothing gain. If he loses the fight, he loses his title.
If you're taller, it's natural to tap down and strike over the top.
Wow, which I think is really good. There's not a lot of head movement.
If you're shorter, you can deflect their hand upward with your forearm to close the distance. But there are countless ways to get that lead hand out of the way by swiping their arm. Regardless of height, it's useful to position your hand on the outside to deflect theirs inward while stepping around. This blocks their lead hand while getting you into a favoured position.
His father told.
You can also use subtle tricks, like faking contact. After so many hand clashes, You start to feel your opponent's rhythm through your lead hand. Knowing that, you can fake contact, then strike immediately to catch them off guard.
I see flaws. His weak point is he opens up. I will take advantage.
But to hit a southpaw cleanly, it will be very important to vary your jab. Mix jabs from both inside and outside foot positions. Throw it from a low guard. Throw it over the opponent's lead hand. Throw it straight or even a vertical jab to sneak through the guard better.
Oh, what a shot!
The idea is to change your jab's angle and rhythm to make it harder to catch. The rear hand. When it comes to the boxing stance, a really effective and small adjustment that can be done is to place your hand in front of your chin instead of keeping it to the side. This is very useful for catching your opponent's straight left hand, which is one of the most used punches in mirrored stance fights.
He said your hand should be in front of your mouth. He said if anybody throws a hook, you can move your hand 2 inches, can't you?
Yeah, he's been...
I'm like, yeah, I can. He said, then do that.
In mirrored stances, the rear hand becomes a more versatile weapon. In Orthodox versus Orthodox fights, it's the power punch.
Oh, good one, 2 and he's down!
Riskier, but as it has more leverage, it's also more damaging. That's why we use the jab to measure and set it up. But in mirror fights, the concept changes. You can use the rear hand to touch and measure while leaning slightly forward.
Acting like a fighter, the referee tells you at the...
When fighting in mirrored stances, this movement is not as dangerous. Furthermore, if you manage to get the outside foot position, your rear hand is aligned with your opponent's center line, which means that the distance is much shorter in this position than it would be in an Orthodox versus Orthodox situation. That's why it's very common to see Southpaw boxers use their rear hand in such creative ways. It is also important to mention some really effective setups with the rear hand in mirrored stance matchups, the straight and looping game. A lot of Southpaws and Orthodox fighters, when facing the opposite stance, will tend to rely on the rear hand to parry the straight cross. That is why you will see a lot of knockdowns from wide overhangs catching the opponent looking to parry the cross. Well, this game can be played forever, alternating between the hook and the cross to keep the opponent guessing with that rear hand.
Getting bullied too far. Big shot!
This tactic was precisely what got Canelo a knockdown of Ryder, who heavily relied on his rear hand to parry hooks.
Watch, set uppercut.
That was when he was coming forward.
And that, like Chris said earlier.
Oh, and a 1-2!
The liver. This is the only difference between an Orthodox facing a Southpaw and a Southpaw facing an Orthodox. Note that although both are in the same position, one fights with the liver in front and the other fights with the liver in the rear.
The 2 body punches that were landed. Bernardo, what are they saying?
Therefore, these next tips will not only be about how to fight in mirror stances, but more specifically, how to target the liver in each case.
Even if the fans are hostile to me, I just hope they're loud.
How to target the Southpaw's liver. There's 3 main techniques to target the Southpaw's liver, which is on the front. The first technique is pinning the lead hand and following with the cross.
Sergio, really impressed with the foot.
By pinning his lead hand, we are accomplishing a double purpose. We are opening up a small space to strike his liver. It allows us to safely bring our lead foot forward, since he cannot jab with his lead hand pinned.
And he says the problem with Oscar right.
Once we have our foot outside, our rear hand will be aligned with our opponent's liver, and we can strike it cleanly while maximizing our safety. The second technique is to throw a stabbing jab to the body. Normally, a jab to the body is aimed at the solar plexus or stomach.
Nothing to win and nothing to lose.
Against the southpaw, you can aim this jab at the liver and do a lot of damage.
And then switch to southpaw now.
Something boxing that he was able to
Especially if your opponent tends to fight for the top hand position in lead hand battles.
Bounce back.
Even if you don't hit the liver, this punch also has the other advantages of a traditional body jab. It allows you to maintain distance and break your opponent's rhythm.
Excuse me, draw them in.
Another way to target the liver of a southpaw is with a lead hook to the body.
So saying to Ryan Garcia, you're young. Body shot. And he goes down.
This is a technique often used by the likes of Canelo when facing southpaws. This can often be a difficult angle to target the liver. The more bladed the opponent is, the harder it is to land it clean to the liver. Oftentimes, the shot ends up landing to the side, around the kidneys.
Uppercut. Body shot again.
How to target the Orthodox liver. On the other hand, the Orthodox boxer has his liver on the back, which is often much harder to target from the outside. If you are a southpaw, a very effective way to damage your opponent's liver is to use your rear hook at a 45-degree angle.
World amateurs, and in the 26th up that left hand again, working behind that. There it is.
Yep.
This will be especially effective if your opponent uses a very high guard or has short arms.
Nice shot. That one hurt.
You can find many different ways to set it up, and it can be thrown from long or short range. Many southpaws know this and use the rear hook to punish the Orthodox fighter's liver.
Lopez boasts amateur win against.
He hurt him.
Yes, it's a wrap.
Counterpunches off the center line. If you've seen many fights between southpaws and Orthodox fighters, you'll see this tactic repeat again and again. It consists of counterpunching with your rear hand. This tactic allows you to evade your opponent's lead hand while hurting them with your power hand.
When he's gonna go. Good. Left hand.
For your opponent, these counters will be very difficult to defend against, and they don't require a great deal of skill to execute. In fact, the best thing about these counterattacks is that you can use them preemptively.
and who even bothers to?
There's a right hand. Off the ropes.
As they are effective against almost any lead hand attack, and you don't expose yourself too much when executing them. Counterpunches from inside position. From this position, it will be easier for you to slip the cross to the rear hand side, as you are already positioned further to that side. Not only that, but it can also be easier to draw your opponent into a counter. By voluntarily giving them outside position, more often than not, they will resort to their go-to punch from that position, their cross. This not only makes it easier to anticipate, but also to counter.
In national dance. That's the foundation to his footwork.
Oftentimes, if an opponent relies heavily on that outside position cross combination, they will overcommit, and that's when you can catch them.
Great sequence right there from.
On the other hand, if you find someone using this tactic against you, the best way to prevent it, when missing a power punch from the outside position, is to use a control and pivot to the outside to prevent the counter.
A lot of energy. And they go back to the corner. Do want to mention.
Furthermore, the inside position can be extremely effective for timing an opponent moving forward too.
Been part of it, but it was just the
Unless the opponent already has outside position, he will have to step to the side and forward to get it. When the opponent commits to an attack by stepping to the outside, their lead foot must lift off the ground. By waiting in the inside position, there's a brief moment in that transition where your feet are set and your opponents are not.
Amazing 5, and there's that lightning quick.
At this moment, you can time them when they have no base and are most vulnerable. countless perfectly timed knockdowns come from catching an opponent as they step to outside position. So take advantage of it, but beware of it too. Finally, it's important to remind you not to forget the basics. Even if you are boxing against a southpaw, it is still the same sport. Tactics like these will help you a lot when fighting left-handed opponents, and you should train to make them automatic. But during a fight, you can't be thinking about them, because they distract your mind from the most crucial things. So keep them in mind, but do not overthink them. But now, we would love to know your opinion in the comments. What do you struggle with when facing a mirrored stance? Let us know. And if the video was interesting, you can find more on our channel. And to your left, we have chosen a video that we thought you may like.